Greetings! Let me see those hands again! Hang on now! Hey, everybody jump!
You're tuned to Off the Ball, the most petty and ill-informed sports programme on radio. That was the week that was. Today, the Scottish Cup final, and as ever, in entertainment or in football, who are the class acts? I'm Stuart Cosgrove, he's Tam Cowan, and you're tuned to the odd couple of Scottish football. Final day, Tam, and a wee bit of kind of extra enjoyment today. No St Johnstone in the final. That's a strange one.
Aye, and no St Johnstone in the Challenge Cup final next year either. You don't need to bother with that. Well done. Before, you know what, right, aye, fair play. I'll give you top billing because before we move on to the Scottish Cup, the game at Fir Park was last Sunday. I basically have no seen you since. So first up, I'll congratulate St Johnstone and getting out of the mire if you congratulate the Well boys for their choreographed cheer.
Do you know what? It took, I fell for it, hook, line and sinker. I'm a nervous fan, and when they choreographed the cheer, implying that Ross County had scored up at Dingwall, I thought, that's it, we're done for. It was brilliantly timed. I don't know quite how they did it. Did they do it with a wee drum roll?
Well, again, we're
or
not
a
sure.
keyword?
If we've got any of the Well boys, the young team at Motherwell tuned in, please spill the beans. It was absolutely majestic, and you must have pre-planned it, saying that, right, if St Johnstone there are thinking they're celebrating, we'll make it that Ross County have scored a late goal. They did hit the post late.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they've got the megaphone. I don't know if it was a key word that was said that sparked them into these over-the-top celebrations. As you say, it might have been, right, guys, when you hear 3 beats on the drum, that's what you do. But it was a joyous moment.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't
So if any of them are listening, how did you pull off that stunt? And secondly, could you...
And I must say as well, I've already recorded my thoughts online, but all 736 St Johnstone fans, and that by me even mentioning the number, that wasn't me having a dig or anything like that. It was a very decent St Johnstone support, and it was the noisiest that I'd ever heard you at Fir Park. He's got right behind the team. Yeah. And as I say, I'm utterly biased because of yourself and because of friends. I can tell you as well, although I couldn't repeat, a wee background story for you as well, which will interest the listeners at large.
Yeah.
As I parked the motor to go to the game last Sunday, the first wee crew that I bumped into were all the Saints directors with the suits and that on, right?
Yeah.
And it was a few familiar faces. Big Stan Harris, of course, the CEO, Roddy Grant was there. This might be his last month with a 19-inch collar. I'll just leave it at that. And then, of course, dear old Jeff Brown, right?
Well, lovely to see it.
The language that I can't repeat.
Aye.
Because you must have had your thoughts on this at the time as well. When Aberdeen rested arguably the best player they've had at the club for about 5 years.
Majowski was on the bench, but he wasn't playing.
No.
And you're thinking, oh, come on, give us a break.
I thought that was you done for. I genuinely did. I thought if Aberdeen have left him out the team, I've got to fancy Ross County. Saints are toast.
So you were there and you saw my dear friend Stan Harris, did you?
Yes, Stan
Do you often go to pride marches?
Stan was gone like a battery. And after it, Stan knows that I sit just above the dugout, so I hung back just to congratulate him. And then Craig Levine clocked us an off for him, didn't he? He came up as well. And I just congratulated him, Obviously, we believe that Michael Stewart is still ill and dead. He's had a terrible week, but no, well done, Saints. And, commiserations, for now, to Ross County, but that playoff final is beautifully,
as you say, beautifully poised, Tom.
Yeah, beautifully poised, because we at 2-0.
You needed Wraith to get that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact to go to goal back, absolute makes that unmissable tomorrow. The other wee couple of things to rattle
Stanton's
through.
goal was immense, but the pass that made the goal, one of the best of the season.
How you dealing, indeed, the listeners, how you dealing with ins and outs? The big headline news this week for Motherwell fans, of course, is that Liam Kelly won't be at the club next season, and the chat is that he is going, and that confused me for a second, back to Rangers.
Yes, yeah.
I was completely unaware of that, but you enlightened me. So
Yeah.
he was there as a kid.
Well, it's quite funny, actually. I was looking at an old photograph of a game, a St Johnstone game of the past, and I'm thinking, who's the keeper? Who's the keeper?
Aye.
There's a photograph, a dive, a
Right.
shot, and the keeper was tipping it away. And, of course, it was Alan McGregor, who was on loan to St Johnstone. Now, of course, now you only think of him as Rangers. You know.
Absolutely. And again, the very smart thing with Liam Kelly, I'm saying that it seems he's going to Rangers. I think it was Liam that started that rumour so that he wouldn't be one of the two players hooked out of the Scotland squad. He knows the deal.
Aye.
Sorry, if you got a Rangers jersey, we'll get you in there. You know, Chris Boyd, not a sniff at Kilmarnock.
Do you know what? Here's the thing, though. We'll talk about the Scotland squad later, but it seems odd having that squad and two have to drop out.
You know what?
I don't get
Sure,
it.
it's like having... We've all had parties maybe at your house or the local community centre, whatever, for your kid. It's like having a room full of kids and giving them all sweeties apart from two of them.
Aye.
You think, you know, now back in the day it was easier. You named a 40-man squad, we'd now be struggling
Aye.
to name a 40-man squad, let's be brutally honest. But that was then reduced maybe to, 22?
Aye.
Right, it was, you know, they almost nearly halved it, but I can't get my head around it. So I go for 28 to 26.
Yeah.
Just name 26.
Aye.
That's plenty. It's an 11-a-side game.
Aye.
26 is loads, but I feel really sorry. There's going to be a couple of players there, and they probably, you know, and Liam Kelly, if I had to put money on it, when you look at the goalies, we're not going to need 4 goalies.
No.
So, is
And
Liam
by let's be honest, he was fourth in the door.
Aye,
And I think he'll be
absolutely.
the first out.
And who?
that's no
And who?
disrespect.
I don't know who else in there, but maybe I don't know. Maybe a midfielder. I don't know, but you know, I just can't get my head around why you go for 20. It seems so unfair in two of the players. Another way, I'm just going to tick these off, Stuart, so we can mention everything. Give us your thoughts, ladies and gents. 80295 in the text. You can email off the ball at bbc.co.uk. We're going to be joined by our guest very soon. Our guest is Robert Snodgrass, but he's just currently outside having his stomach pumped. I don't know what that's all. No, our guest is, it's another Robert. But he'll always be Bobby to me. In fact, he won't be. He'll be the shimmy king. It's Bobby Russell, one of the greatest ever players Scotland has produced. A guy who is always in that. The greatest Scotland team that never get capped. You know, Bobby's always in there with Hamish McAlpine,
I take
Kevin
it today
McAllister.
he's here representing Motherwell.
Absolutely.
We couldn't have a Rangers player on the show without a Celtic one to balance.
It's Bobby Russell, formerly of Motherwell, and I'm delighted to say I was proud. Back when I watched Bobby, never would have thought the day when his ghostwriter, if you like, would have phoned me up asking me to contribute to Bobby's biography. I was so proud to do that. He was brilliant at Motherwell.
One thing I don't know is his origins, because, well, you know, you're mentioning there that players that come to your club and you know where they came from, and they know what boys' club they were with or what youth club they were with. And of course, Davy Cooper was at Clydebank. I don't know where Bobby came from.
We'll get the whole background. That's a good way of unplugging the book. But again, with Bobby, you know, that'll be my first question. Bobby, what age were you again when you came to Motherwell? Because the mists of time tell you, when you think of veteran players and players that were deemed surplus to requirements at a big club like Rangers, you know, I bet he was but a boy. You know what I mean? But anyhow, we'll get Bobby Russell. But
So
the next
you're going to
thing-
be banging on about the Scottish Cup final or game?
No, because Bobby, and he's got a story to tell there as well. Bobby, it's a bit blurred for Motherwell fans. Bobby, unless I'm very much mistaken, was still a registered Motherwell player when we won the Cup, but perhaps blighted by injury. I don't think there was a chance of him being near the squad. And again, it was the days, remember, Stuart, as well, only 2 subs.
Yeah.
So no, Bobby, sadly, doesn't feature in the Scottish Cup. He played in the rounds before, but not in the final. Another guy of, if you like, almost that era that we'll pay tribute to. We had him in the show a couple of times down through the years. A lovely, lovely man. man, dear old Jerry Collins,
Aye,
passed
who
away.
Jerry, actually, I wouldn't say I knew Jerry well, but when he retired from football, he was a taxi driver and often worked over east. And frequently, I was in the cab and we have a good old chat. And he loved football, and he loved football at a certain level. So he always knew players that were at St Johnstone or Hamilton or Thistle, you know, he's one of these guys you always imagined was at the top of the old First Division.
And primarily for me, I think you think Partick Thistle, of course, and you, of course, because it was only Adrian Sprott that ever got a mention. But Jerry, of course, played in that famous victory for Hamilton Accies when they beat Graham Souness's Rangers team at Ibrox in the Scottish Cup. Give us your tributes, please, to Jerry Collins, who sadly passed away this week. We're also doing our first ever crowdfunding campaign on the show. We're trying to raise money, Stuart, for bus fares for anybody who joins Inverness Calais next season.
Aye. Well, do you know what?
Give me your thoughts on that.
I thought it was utterly outrageous. I think that it's a betrayal. Inverness Calais Thistle are an Inverness team, and whilst every team has got to do what they can do to, you know, mobilise a squad and to get their players fit, it felt like the wrong time to be announcing that. Let me point to another thing here, is a lot of people, I'm going way back here now, a lot of people bought the idea that Calais and Thistle, if they merged, would constitute a team that would represent Inverness and do it to the highest standards. And along with Ross County, they competed in the Highland League. Rightly, they won their entry into the Scottish League. And I just think that's a step back for them. I know that there are financial difficulties. I get that. But you know what? Here's the other thing about it is Inverness has done quite well. The football club has done quite well over the last 5 or 6 seasons, finding free transfers from the English League. Guys flying up. Always remember Raven, great name he was. He was in numerous teams of the week, and he was a guy come up, I think he was for Liverpool, but had come up from London. And I always thought the airport was a benefit to them, with them playing and training in Inverness. Not anymore now, because they're going to be training in Kelty.
Right, well, I'll look at
the
flip side of that, because, you know, I'd wonder, even if you're in League One, can you even dream of flying players, and can you stump up for airfares, right? The other thing I've got to say as well, Stuart, even attracting players to Inverness now. When Inverness were riding high as a top flight club and all the rest of it, that would have been a lot easier. But I think for me, there's a lot of this makes sense. If they are want to be in the central belt, if you like, where they will train, and then any players only actually have to go to Inverness on a home match day, it makes sense to me, because, you know, that they are in League One. They have got well documented financial troubles. There's a lot, it does make sense to me, but I can see the identity issue.
The identity issue is by far the most important. The other thing, Tam, I would say is this is not unique. They're not alone in this. Lots of clubs have got training arrangements in the Central Belt. And, you know, we've seen in the past as well where players have kind of felt, well, there isn't enough money for me up sticks and move my family north to Dingwall or to Inverness. I get that. But I just think it's a compromise on what the club's meant to represent.
Right, okay. Right, another thing that'll tick off my list here, because I know you love it, is that what we saw again last weekend with all the football was the players taking their kids onto the pitch.
Oh.
You hate that, don't you?
I just think that is...
Why do you hate it,
you know what it is? It's performative nonsense, right? I don't know quite what it is that they're trying to say or do. Is it for the kid? Is it for them? Is it for the wife? Is it for the wider support
Well,
base?
it can be costly as well. Celtic spent a fortune in extra stewarding when Lee Griffiths did it. they thought it was a pitch invasion.
Look, don't get me wrong, it's nice. But I think that there's a time for it, and the time is not... Well, I saw your big man striker at Ross County with, I think he had 2 kids with
Jordan White,
and this was before the crunch game against Aberdeen.
And then
I think it just looks wrong. I think once your season's over and you're having your club open day, fine, that's all okay. But when you're going out to a competitive game, doesn't look right to me.
Right, okay.
I'm not saying that was unique. I think St Johnstone players did it as well.
Right, okay,
I
fair
think
enough.
Nicky Clark had his
I'll
kids
continue
on
in my list. We're singing for the same hymn sheet here. We'd love to hear for the Greenock Morton fans who, and whatever your line of work is, if you were offered more money by a rival company, you would not go. We are talking about the Morton fans who have slated George Oakley.
Rightly so as
for
well.
going to Ayr
Rightly
United.
so as well. Football is not like any other job, right? I love a weasel that goes for more money because you guarantee Ayr United visiting Capello next season and Morton go 1-0 up.
Tasty.
Or George Oakley misses a screamer.
Tasty.
They're going to
I'll
love
be
it.
going there. I got to know George a wee bit. I did a thing for Morton's 150th, smashing me night in our supporters club with Dougie Emery and George, and it was great. But the bit that I picked up for online, a guy, fans never forget anything, and I'd forgotten that. Someday a Morton fan tonight, I think, had asked George Oakley about his thoughts on the Joey Barton thing. It was the same week that had really exploded, right? And I couldn't remember the question. I couldn't remember what George's answer would have been, but this Morton fan did, and basically said that George more or less agreed with Joey Barton, and I'm glad that vermin like that isn't at our club anymore. Words to that effect, you know what I mean?
And wasn't George Oakley one of the English players that went to Inverness and then subsequently to Morton?
Oh, I don't know.
I think he was, yeah.
I wouldn't have followed his history. But anyhow, good luck to George if you're tuned in at Ayr United. Another fantastic club, and good luck. I felt a wee bit sad for Morton. I've seen those clubs, and it's no as if he's gone there for, 10 times what he'd been on at Greenock Morton. I'd be stunned if that was the case. But, I always thought Morton and Ayr United, I'd have seen them as maybe being on a par.
George, if you're listening, I hope you've gone for 20 quid.
What else? The last wee thing I would like to mention, just salute for last weekend, and we'll move on with the Scottish Cup and the class acts as we rattle through everything here. Please get your thoughts in. We're only on to 1:30. The first ever Cup final special show that is reduced in time. There's a broadcasting first. But anyway, Stranraer, I don't know if it was a club TV guy, I don't even know if such a thing exists at Stranraer, or if it was the match day announcer.
It was the match day announcer.
But whoever it was, well done that when you beat East Kilbride last week, you did the old classic football tirade, and this version was John Hanna, Ali McCoist, Lorraine Kelly, Muriel Gray, Kirsty Young. Your boys took a hell of a beating.
Excellent.
Absolutely brilliant. And I
yeah.
just wonder, as a wee sidebar, right, we've got an abridged show, which club, when they are beaten, would be able to put the most meat on the bone for one of those? Because that's quite a clutchy folk for East Kilbride.
Not bad.
Right, let's say, right, Motherwell last week, wait, let's say we did
And
beat St Johnstone.
let's leave out generic fans who happen to. I think you're meaning people associated with that, yeah.
So if Motherwell had actually bumped and then Well boys were right for cheering and Saints were in dire straits and our match announcer had done one for Perth, who'd have been included in that then?
Colin McCready.
You, Cosgrove, McCready.
Aye, your man, John Buchan,
John
the guy
Buchan.
that. Aye.
Who sang the opening song at the Scottish Parliament? Does she know Perth? Remember?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
At the very opening of the
Yeah.
Parliament, I saw it in a documentary
Eve
the other night.
Graham of the New Seekers.
See, East Kilbride's winning.
Yeah.
Give us a town in Scotland that would absolutely make one of those classic cliched match announcer
the
things.
Stone of Destiny, that's...
Aye, there we go. Schoon races.
Aye.
But there we go. So listen, we've got all the stuff for this week. We rattled through the lot of it. But Stuart, Scottish Cup final today, Celtic against Rangers. Give us your gut thoughts and how that'll pan out.
Gut thoughts are very simply, it's not, for me, the most exciting of finals because they're, in a way, none of them are really underdogs, are they? They're both well-resourced clubs. I think Celtic have had the sign over Rangers, and if they go into that and deliver again on that, then I think Celtic will win it 2-1, maybe 2-0. But I can't see a really, really exciting game. I think what will be quite a... What's the word they use? Not claustrophobic, a wee bit tight game.
Right.
Unlike in Falkirk, the Lava Cup of 2024, which is the Over 40s Cup, which has been played out at the Falkirk Stadium today. I recommend this because there are 5 teams from Iceland playing. You'll be pleased to know that Eintracht Frankfurt have sent a team.
Wow.
There's a Northern Ireland international team. Swindon Town have got a team in the finals. The Orkney Seniors are there. But, of course, my money's on Ness FC over 40s from the Isle of Lewis. The Celtic Legends have put a team there as well. So I'll be keeping you up to date with that. The Lava Trophy.
Can I just ask, why is it the Lava Trophy?
I suspect it's something to do with Iceland. I think they're the originators of the thing. It moves around now, but I think it's to do with volcanoes, isn't it?
Okay, fine. And listen, talking of Falkirk and something else to look forward to, our mutual pal Gus Beattie he was wanting a wee plug for a show that he's put together for Radio Scotland on Monday, and it's about a gentleman whose name often crops up in this show. Falkirk fans will instinctively know why. A guy called Sid Puddlefoot.
Oh, Sid
it's a
Puddlefoot,
great name,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The documentary is called Scotland versus the World, and it is when Scotland broke the world transfer record. I don't think that'll happen again. When Scotland broke the world transfer record, and this tells the tale of when Scotland, for the one and only time, the first time, broke the world transfer fee, when Falkirk signed the wonderfully named Sid Puddlefoot from West Ham for 5k. 5,000
So it was surely the other way around, was it?
And that was 19...
That was Sid going down there, or Sid coming up.
Sid, it was Sid Falkirk. If it's Sid coming up, then I'm not giving this another plug.
No.
If the producers got it wrong,
Aye.
oh dear. But no, Scotland broke the world transfer record, so they must have paid.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay.
Right, so Falkirk signed Sid Puddlefoot for West Ham for £5,000. Dare I say it, way back 1922. Makes me think as well, Gus, why did you not do the documentary on the centenary? This is a bit... left it a bit late.
Yeah,
it's like Larry David hating folk wishing him a happy new year 3 weeks after it, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's presented by Andrew Cotter and it features Forbes Masson. So it's on air this Monday at noon on Radio Scotland, and of course you'll be able to get that on the BBC Sounds as well. But it sounds good, and I'll be tuned in. Old Sid Puddlefoot, he gets a mention in this show many a time down through the years, so there's something to keep an eye on. Stuart, I'm going to come out the closet on today's show. You know how you always get levelled at us? They say, but who's your real team, Cowan? Who's your,
Aye.
And I've had, being the treasurer of the Celtic Glasgow Uni supporters, boss. I used to march frequently, remember, with the Orange Order in Burnbank and Hamilton.
Yes.
All that stuff.
Yes.
Right, I am cheering for Celtic today.
Yes.
Ellipsis, ... to help a Rangers legend. There you go. Now, I'll be hoping Celtic win.
That sounds like one of these creepy things that they put on the news so that it feels like it's balanced.
Well-
because you're doing it to help Rangers.
Well, no, I'll explain.
Here's that. Come off the fence.
Right,
Who
well,
you support?
here we go. The reason for this is, you'll remember a while back, I teed up after they did a wee spat on another radio station, a tawdry commercial radio station down south, and Rod Stewart and Graham Souness got into a bit of a spat, right?
Yes.
And I sensed a good wee story here for the paper. So, cut a long story short, I ended up getting the two of them to have a £10,000 charity bet on who would win the league, right? If Celtic won the league, Graham Souness had to give 10 grand to Rod's chosen charity, the St Andrews Hospice in Airdrie. He's been great for us with that for a few years. And if Rangers had won the league, Rod Stewart had to give 10 grand to Deborah. Absolutely amazing charity that Graham Souness is involved when he slammed the channel for. So they've kind of upped the ante a wee bit here as well, because Rod said that if Celtic do a quick-fire double over their old rivals and win the Scottish Cup today, he's going to give the same amount, 10 grand, to Graham Souness's charity, Deborah. He'll cough up for that. So it's basically vested interest for the charity. I've got a heart of gold. So if Celtic win, I couldn't care less ordinarily with a game like this unless I've got a bet on it. If Celtic win, it means that a Rangers legend, Graham Souness, will have a wee smile on his face.
Yeah.
'Cause his charity has picked up 10 grand.
Well, there you go. Tam, will you be having you, an ex-Ravens Craig boy, will you be enjoying these two Thatcherites betting against each other?
Well, if you want to take it back to Motherwell, we're asking for cup final moments.
Yeah.
One at your own club. And again, there'll be fans tuned in, of course, who have never experienced a Scottish Cup final. It might just be a general one. So I'll give you two right away, only because Stuart mentions Motherwell and North Lanarkshire and all the rest of it. Yep. Bottom line is that the Scottish Cup final, May the 18th, 1991, still remains the one and only time that I tried which particular alcoholic beverage.
Buckfast jungle
one and
juice.
only time. That was the camaraderie in the day. A guy that had been at a school with, we'd only left, 4 years earlier. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Put one arm round me and as good as forced this bottle of Bucky to my lips. It was absolutely gross and I've never tried it again. The one that doesn't involve Motherwell, because I heard a good wee side story to it recently. When Alec Ferguson tore into the Aberdeen players.
Oh, that was great, that.
Yeah.